Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking the channel out. My name is Agabus, and this is your financial education channel. Today we're going to learn a bit about orange pilling and how to help people understand a bit more about this new Gold 2.0 version, also known as Bitcoin. Thank you so much for checking the channel out. If you like what you see today, please hit the like button below, subscribe if you want to see more, and drop a comment in the comment section below letting me know that you watched it. So the first article today we have from Zero Hedge. It's called The Subtle Art of Orange Pilling. Of course, the idea of orange pilling or red pilling comes from the classic The Matrix. The article says that every Bitcoin user has a very different reason for buying and using Bitcoin in the first place. That's something that everyone should consider when trying to orange pill new users. We'll go through some of these in just a second here, but throughout the years, the article has presented a case for Bitcoin to a lot of people from a wide range of backgrounds. The list includes curious cab drivers, financial advisors, young software developers, skeptical policymakers, voiceless activists, and once even an IMF employee. Kudos to this person. Needless to say, most of these attempts ended up falling on deaf ears. So I started asking myself, why would this person in front of me care about Bitcoin? And immediately realized that getting a response was particularly challenging because even among Bitcoiners, there is no common understanding of what Bitcoin is in the first place. Is it peer-to-peer electronic cash, as Satoshi originally defined it? Is it a digital property, as Michael Saylor suggests? Or maybe just listen to Gary Gensler and call it a commodity? So today we're going to take a look at why different people are getting into the Bitcoin space. The first would be hard money, or the idea that there's only so much money that should be used. There's some form of scarcity like there was back on a gold standard, meaning that you can't just print money and devalue it. Satoshi Nakamoto said, in this sense, it's more typical of a precious metal. Instead of the supply changing to keep the value the same, the supply is predetermined and the value changes. So the first set of problems that Bitcoin attempts to solve is the idea of the financial system being broken. For those not understanding, the problem can be described as having a similar nature, but of course different magnitude, to hyperinflation in Weimar Republic, Germany, and Venezuela. The constant debasement of currencies, even if it's only at a 2% inflation, has a tremendous societal impact, with those who are close to the money printer being the only winners, a phenomenon known as the Cantillon effect. Now, if you're not familiar with this, just imagine for a second that you have a magic ATM machine in your basement that'll print $10,000 a day. You print and you print and you print. Legally, as a part of this conversation, of course, you get that money up first, your family gets some money up first, then your friends, then your extended family, then your neighbors, but whoever is closest to you and your circle of friends are going to benefit from this magical ATM machine in your basement versus the people thousands of miles away or the companies that you've never heard of. They will be the last people to receive any bit of your magical ATM money-making machine. Here's Jerome Powell talking about how they print and use money when it comes to the money supply. Let's take a listen.
Simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
Interesting, huh? Unlike fiat money and commodities such as gold, Bitcoin's total supply is capped, which makes it the most scarce store of value in the history of mankind and an ideal store of value in the long term. For all those living in half of the world that's experiencing double-digit inflation, that's particularly interesting moment to understand how money printing and currency debasement can affect so many people's lives. In fact, people who have lived through the 70s and those living currently in Venezuela, Lebanon, Zimbabwe, Argentina, and Turkey will be most receptive to the idea of Bitcoin as a way to preserve their purchasing power in inflationary environments. So the idea, number one, is of a hard money. The second one we'll talk a bit about today is a superior payment network. Jack Mahler says, humans have invented the best financial tool in our history, and it's an exciting time to be alive to use it. For the first time in human history, money and payment networks are integrated into one open and global system. Not only can Bitcoin serve as a store of value in the long term, as explained above, but it also functions as a global medium of exchange that does not require a third party, such as a bank. In only a few seconds, money can be sent anywhere in the world by paying only a fraction of a cent, compared to bank transfers, wires, credit cards, remittance. Sending money through Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network is significantly cheaper and faster. People who don't like Bitcoin as a store of value can just use it as a payment system by converting it to the local currency at the two ends of the transaction. And why would you do that instead of using the legal systems? Good question. Perhaps to quickly send money during earthquakes or during wars, or to bypass remittance companies that can take weeks to transfer your money and charge up to 10% in fees. Crazy. The potential of Bitcoin just as a payment network extends to the most unthinkable areas where micropayments have the potential to boost the creator economy and solve the problems that have been haunting social networks. Number three we're talking about today is a freedom technology. Alex Gladstein says, it would be a dark, dark world if Bitcoin did not exist. This one is a bit more interesting for those thinkers and philosophers out there, people who really want to get into fiscal and monetary policy. The two previous perspectives address the common criticism that Bitcoin is useless, but another common criticism, often paired with the former, even though it directly contradicts it, is the fact that, just like cars, computers, and most technologies, Bitcoin is used by criminals. As crazy as it might sound, that's a feature, but not a bug. Because in those instances where it's ethnicity, religion, sex, or political views that determine whether one is a criminal, having a financial system that cannot be weaponized by the government is one of the best insurance policies that you could wish for. That's particularly true for 2/3 of the global population that lives in backsliding democracies or autocratic regimes. Those who care about freedom and human rights should be paying very close attention to this technology, because Bitcoin has already provided a lifeline to support for those in need over the last decade. WikiLeaks would not have been able to expose serious violations of human rights and civil liberties without having Bitcoin. Also, North Korea, Iran, Afghanistan, Ukraine, Hong Kong, Belarus, Nigeria, and Russia also use Bitcoin as a tool to escape the control of government censorship. And as we move away from physical money and the potential for financial surveillance and censorship increases exponentially, the world will greatly benefit to have an additional set of checks and balances to limit the power of government and corporations. And the last one, which is not as well known, but I think very interesting conversation, it's an energy buyer of last resort and may help out with the energy grid. Dennis Porter says it's a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the environment and an inarguable win for the economy. So the last reason here is that a relatively small crowd of people who might be able to appreciate Bitcoin for a different set of reasons. Bitcoin constitutes an unprecedented opportunity to build a cleaner, more resilient, and more efficient energy infrastructure. Bitcoin can mitigate the problem of intermittency, the demand and supply mismatch that occurs with renewable energy, and help with the $13 billion problem of congestion of the electric grid in rural areas. Bitcoin miners can strengthen these grids and incentivize the deployment of more renewable energy by adapting to fluctuations of power generation schedules, since their rigs can be turned off and on at any moment without notice. Commonly referred to as energy buyers of last resort, Bitcoin miners are the perfect for demand response programs. Last year, Bitcoin miners in Texas returned 1,500 megawatts to the grid, which was enough to heat over 1.5 million small homes or to keep 300 large hospitals fully operational. Bitcoin miners are also finding very creative ways to utilize energy that was previously wasted. And many are arguing that Bitcoin is the only available, practical, scalable technology when it comes to tackling the world's most deadly greenhouse gas, methane. Now, when you look at the idea of Bitcoin, there's a lot of different reasons why people are gravitating toward this Bitcoin technology and the payment network system. I would love to know in the comment section below, what was the reason you came to understand and to know Bitcoin? Everyone's different, but would love to know your understanding. As always, stay inquisitive, stay informed, stay subscribed for more. Thank you so much for watching the channel. If you like what you saw, make sure to like button below and do us a favor and watch another video on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow.